Welcome back to Worth Effort Woodworking. Today's video is going to be a little bit different in that it is going to be a vlog. But don't worry, we're not going to be having a lot of vlogs happening on this channel. This is just kind of a special event. Dad and I are on our kind of annual trip, woodturning trip, to SWAT, the Southwest Areas Woodturning Association. It is the second largest woodturning symposium in the nation. It's probably one of the best, most inexpensive educational outlets there is. And I really like the instant gallery that they put up every year. Anyways, we're up early on the drive to Waco, Texas, for SWAT. So come along with us. The thing about SWAT is it is basically 1,000 woodturners from all over the world gather in Waco, Texas, and you have about 7-8 different clubs that each sponsor a room, and each room teaches about 6 classes a day. So it's a huge opportunity for education. They bring in woodturners from all over the world to teach these lectures, demonstration kind of classes. I'm just at the registration right now, and you can already see it's unreal, the setup, the vendors and stuff like that. It's all wood turning associated, but even if you're not a wood turner, there's so many finishing techniques. I mean, it seems to me wood turners are basically working the cutting edge of that kind of stuff, so you can really learn a lot just examining what the people do. Let me flip it around and let me show you the main room. I mean, seriously, check this place out. We're walking in, just wood turners everywhere, some of the best displays. And understand this, we are doing this the same weekend of IWF. This is just Turners Associations. Really, I don't know why they do that every year on the same weekend. You would think you wouldn't get as many people, but these are all people dedicated to wood turning, really in the south part of the country. Lots of local stores. Really, really cool setup. So I'll wander around and talk to you a little bit about some of the classes I go to.
Out on the weekends or something.
Well, the Symposium is broken up in a bunch of different kind of sections, and on Fridays when you get here, the first classes or lectures are basically from 10:30 to lunch, which, by the way, they do provide lunch. It's all included if you buy tickets, and the tickets are really inexpensive for what you're getting. But the first, on Friday, you have a class before lunch, then you have 2 after lunch, then they break for dinner, which they don't provide, but on some days they do have a banquet you can buy an extra ticket for. And then in the evening on Friday, they have kind of a lot of little different meetings where they just get people together to talk, kind of like panels. Yeah, it is a panel. Well, my first class today was with Alan and, what was her name again? Lauren Zetrick. And it was about ink and dye embellishments to woodworking, which would apply to just a bunch of different kinds of woodworking, even panels and stuff like that. And a lot of these classes, the only thing you're going to get about them is their use of some very specific tools, name brands and stuff like that. Something that they showed me in this one was a really cool airbrush. It actually worked off of markers, and they say the technology had been out for about 20 years, but I hadn't seen it before. And what was cool about it, you just put the markers in there, the air blew over the tip of the marker and sprayed on there, and cleanup was simply putting the cap back on the marker. There was none. So it could be something you could really do some cool embellishments with. It's not as fine as real airbrushes, but it's those little knickknacks, those little nuggets of information that you can get out of these lectures. So in the second lecture I went to watch Stuart Batty. And if you have never seen Stuart Batty, just Google Woodturning on Vimeo. I mean, he's one of the premier woodturning educators, and he does a unique aspect of it. But what he focuses on is the finished quality of the cut and a lot on body motion. And he's somebody that I always try to catch every time he shows up because, frankly, he's the guy that teaches a lot of today's teachers. So, I mean, he just has a very succinct way of doing it and kind of a twisted sense of humor. One of the cool things I like about SWAT, though, is after each one of the lectures, there's plenty of time for you to actually talk to those people. And I actually got to get a little one-on-one lesson from him on sharpening his bow gouge his unique way. So, I mean, that's something I get to try out simply because I came to this place and took a little initiative and asked a question after a lecture. SWAT really is one of the most inexpensive learning opportunities we have in this part of the country. Okay, the last class or lecture I went to, I'm not going to tell you what it was. It was something that I kind of already knew this stuff, but what was cool about it is it got me thinking more in lines of how I would teach that class differently. And there were a few things that he did that I just wouldn't have done, or I would have eliminated steps so I could teach it. So in an hour class, my mind was at least thinking, that's what's cool about SWAT is you might not really pick all the perfect lectures to visit, but the ones you do will at least get you thinking pretty cool. Other than that, I got to wander around. I got to see the gentleman from Dunkin' Junk and Curtis and all them and stuff over at the cactus juice place. It's kind of fun talking to them. So tomorrow it's going to be another day, and tomorrow we have 2 morning classes, 2 afternoon classes, and some kind of talk in the evening. And tonight, for entertainment, we are going to have Stuart Batty and Ashley Harwood in a battle to the death bowl turning race. Should be pretty cool, fun. It's the apprentice versus the master or the teacher, stuff like that. Stuart's been really trash talking it. So we'll see how it is. Catch you tomorrow.
Set it in 45. If push cut, you can't stop the cut. 20% slower than normal to make up for that. So that's how you compensate. If the lane speed isn't as fast as you want, you cut a little slower. I think your recess could have been more precise. If you don't clean out the recess, you leave a little bit of swamp in there from the original dust, all of that creates a little bit of movement.
Go.
Whoa. My leg is like a machine gun at the minute.
Stuart lost last night. Ashley beat him by 11 seconds. He is never going to live this down. The Padawan has slayed the master. But in reality, he had a hard time. They were having some serious problems with the lays. Not enough power. His was bogging down. So I'll give it to him this time, but he's never going to live it down. Another catered lunch. The class or the lecture I went to right before this one was from Cindy Drozda, and it was actually kind of a continuation of one she did last year, which was about making these spiral 3-sided boxes on the lathe. And this time she extended it out, she took away the spiral, and then she removed a bunch of the center section. If you ever go to a symposium, I highly suggest at least seeing one of her lectures, because I always find out that a great majority of these are kind of going for more basic style stuff, mold turning techniques, how to hold the tools, sharpening gouges. But Cindy consistently seems to take it to just the next level, the more intermediate advanced stuff, and open up your ideas to different possibilities. At least that's the way I've seen it for the past 4 years I've seen her demonstration. So, on to the next lecture. Now, every year I like to take one session off, and I kind of pick the weakest one, which when you have 7 classes per session, it's kind of hard to pick. But this is my favorite time because I get more inspiration. I learn more during this one session I take off than any of the other ones. Because in that session, I come to the instant gallery and check out kind of the stuff you will see here. Thousands of pieces lined up for you to examine. They are all made from the best artists in the world. Everyone brings their stuff to show off. So today I thought I'd bring you around and show you some of the pieces that kind of, I want to steal their ideas. I mean, it's truly inspirational. And a lot of times I can sit here for 10, 20, 30 minutes staring at a piece, just trying to figure out, how did they do that? First thing off, I gotta show off Dad's work. That's what he brought this year. Now, I am a big fan of box makers. It's one of my favorite things to do. I came across these two. Look at that. That thing is turned out of a solid tree branch, a small tree. He burnt the outside before he started turning it, obviously. Nice little bolt on top, but isn't that cool? I hadn't thought about doing a natural edge ring box. And check out this one right next to it. It's an oval. How on earth did he turn that? An oval box. Really, really good. Roger Jones, thumbs up from me. Andy Chin, every single year he impresses me. I'm usually not a big fan of high gloss finishes on tableware and stuff like that, but look at this walnut piece. The finish on that is just unbelievably perfect. I don't see any tool marks whatsoever, and the way he lined up the grain, I mean, really cool. But what I really want to show you, look at these. Alabaster vase turned on a lathe, a wood lathe. Really, really cool. I mean, impressive stuff, Andy, as always. And let me show you one of his things that I've been dying to do. Andy makes these turnings with corian material, gluing the different layers together. It's segmented, but the fact that he uses tabletop material, really, really cool. I've been wanting to try this for years. Okay, y'all gotta check this out. This is Andy, and he did this. Okay, look at that box. And yes, this is a box. Where's the seam? Every single thing is curved, so how could it untwist? Right there. Unbelievable. And this too is corian, but as he was saying, it's not all acrylic anymore. Really cool. I'm impressed. Now, I've always known you could turn aluminum, but Pete Blank, thank you for showing me some possibilities. This is cool. Every year, Sammy Long, your turned carved vases sure make me feel very small. Wow, this is just so intricate. Look at the waves of these leaves. They look like actual leaves that have been sitting on the ground for a while. They're not just shaped or the edges carved. It is the 3D aspect to each and every one. Really well done. Okay, here's something really cool. I mean, we've all seen segmented vases, and this is a nice shape, but look what he did there. He ran a wire all the way through and put jewelry pieces hanging within a wire. Is that not creative? Those of y'all that like to make bandsaw boxes, this isn't just a wood turning thing, though technically he did turn it on a bandsaw, but same techniques. Bandsaw boxes to sculptures. That's how he did it. James Johnson, really cool idea. As I mentioned earlier, Cindy Droza is probably one of the best presenters, educators of the more advanced stuff that I like out here. This is one of her pieces. It's a burl natural edge box. Finial on bottom, but look at this finial on top. I mean, yeah, that's extreme and stuff like that, but let's hold a piece of paper behind it. She has a finial on top of the finial. I don't think you can realize how thin that thing is up top, but compare it to the size of my thumbnail. Unreal, Cindy. And check this piece out. Look how thin that comes down to, holding up a massive cup burl with a natural edge burl. Impressive stuff. No wonder she can teach us so well. She takes it to the next level, time and time again. Rebecca DeGroot showed up again with some of her wild creatures. Check out those legs, the stems, the octopus, all that kind of stuff. Really creative stuff from one of Texas's premier up-and-coming woodturners, Rebecca DeGroot. Job well done. And every year, the people bring in beads of courage boxes, individual boxes that people turn to give to cancer kids because they get a little bead for each treatment, and it's something to collect them on in. Really creative ideas. Let's take a walk down so you can see them all. Really cool, fun little creatures. But the amount of effort they put into some of these things is unreal, just to be given away as charity. Fun stuff. We're still going. Oh, look at that. A little maze box. Can you imagine the amount of time to make a segmented spaceship? Texas Turners. Okay, now this is cool. While the execution could have been tighter gap, the idea he took a platter he turned and divided it up and re-glued it up into a nice little sculpture. Wayne fur, that was creative. Curtis Norman, I like that. Okay, look at this piece of wood. A nice maple burl. It grew up on the side. What would most of us do? We'd cut this entire section off and make a bowl out of that or something else. What's he do? He takes the whole tree and makes a nice platter out of it where only one side of it has a burl. This turned out so well, Joseph. I think it's Schoenfield. Joseph, I'm really impressed. Good use of the wood. Frank Miller, you really did. I've got an idea of a box style based upon what you did right there with this threaded box here for Christmas. Thank you. People have done animals before, but check out this Siamese cat and the way that Neil did these mice. A little bit more unique. I like it. I'm going to want to try that. That might be a live demo I can do in front of the kids that would work out really well. Stealing ideas. Thanks, Neil. Neil Brand. Okay. That's a box, but that's not round. He says it's a lidded box. Okay, so what's going on here?
The lid may come off down in through here someplace.
I think.
Look at there.
He fooled us.
Wow. That's creative.
Brad Davis. I've been staring at your box for about 10 minutes now. It says it was a box, but I'm looking at it. I want you to see this top. It's not round. See how it's got all those scallops? So for the longest time, I thought it was like Andy Chin's box, or maybe he had a seam right here. But these are all at angles, so it couldn't be there. So I sat here. I've been looking at this one because I didn't want to open it until I figured it out. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Had to open up to see what you did. You have matched these curves right here to those individual curves on here. Oh, wow. That was cool. Well done, Brad Davis. Okay, I'm always a sucker for turned fruit, but Mary Lacer, adding the worm in the crack, that was the kicker. Pretty cool idea. The only piece in Kevin Moran's sculpture that isn't done on the lathe is a horse. The sail is the bottom of a bowl. The moon, another bowl. The sun, another box. That is a section of a hollow form. Vineo turning. That's just creative. Well done, Kevin. I make ducks all the time. I've even made videos on making ducks. I sell the ducks too. John Schoberg, you put my stuff to shame. I really like how you had them kind of rising up. Quite a bit different than what I'm doing. Thanks for the idea. Sammy Johnson, your interpretation of DeGroot's idea for the joints, really creative. I like it. As I said, I'm always a sucker for boxes. Keith Gottschall, I hope that's how you pronounce your name, but check these out. Square boxes done on the lathe. I have not seen this before. It probably has been out there, but really cool design idea. I want to try this. Janice Levy, you just reminded me of something I've wanted to try. Just a little lunch box made out of a bowl. Basically, this is a turned bowl that you slice in half, add a bottom to it, and then you can do your handles and stuff. A little class right there. Your execution of it, very well done. Good job, Janice Levy. Well, it's Saturday night, banquet night. And once again, we've got food. Got a little prime rib, chicken. They really do a pretty good job on the catering here. And right before this one, I went to Craig Timmerman's class, and he does a wing bowl, and I do wing bowls quite often. What I like about this is even though you do something similar, taking a class by an expert who does it a little bit differently will open up a lot of idea opportunities. It's a pretty cool class, and Craig is, he's got a style up there that's really comfortable. It makes you believe that you can do stuff even though he's doing some pretty advanced cuts. Really good class, Tim. Day for the last meal, they have classes in the morning, then they have kind of a big giveaway. They're giving away 3 lathes this year, a bunch of other tools, so they serve us a little barbecue while we're waiting. Got some brisket, some sausage, chicken, beans, coleslaw, all that kind of stuff. Texas food. In the 2 classes I went to this morning, the first one, well, in the instant gallery, I talked about that one guy that did a really great sculpture with the leaves and stuff like that. It always impresses me. I've seen his work the past few years. But he did a demonstration today, show you how he did it. And it just taught me, I don't want to do that one. I don't know how he gets his money out of that. He has 3 or 4 weeks involved in one of those vases. That's a lot of labor. But it's really cool seeing how he did all those veins and stuff like that. The second class was from Stuart Batty, where he just delved into sharpening quite a bit. And you remember in high school having those classes where geometry classes where you would sit and just hear your teacher lecture for an hour and a half? Well, you heard him lecture for about 20 minutes and you fell asleep. Well, believe it or not, Stuart Batty did an hour-and-a-half lecture on geometry. Never mentioned the word geometry once, but kept the entire audience entertained. And it's all based on sharpening. I'll put a link down below to his Vimeo channel so you can get an idea of the quality instructors we have here. Well, time to chow down and hope I win the lathe. And remember, it's always worth the effort to learn, create, and share with others. So next year, try to come to SWAT so you can do all three.